Hi, Carla.
Hi, Paridi. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Just a quick, all right, we're ready to start right on time. We've got Shantanu and you as speakers today, so I'll just start the session. Welcome to Coffee with MBA and Beyond, everyone. Today's topic of discussion is going to be one, Forté Fellowship, and second, top European Business School application, and how should you be tackling that, looking at 2 months that we have, which is around 60 to 65 days to most of the deadlines that we are looking at. I'm Paridhi, co-founder of MBA and Beyond, hosting this session with two amazing people with me tonight. We're going to be introducing both of them in a bit. Carla has been recommended by Director of Forté Fellowship to talk about Forté with us today, and we've got founder of MBA and Beyond and INSEAD alum Shantanu with us. But we would really like to listen to your introductions, from your point of view instead of my own. So, Carla, over to you. We'd love to have your introduction for the audience.
Definitely. So, well, as you know, my name is Carla, and I am one of the recruiters for the master's program, including, of course, the MBA programs at the Rodman School of Management here at the University of Toronto. It's been 4 years working with Rodman right now, but also have some previous work experience at other universities here in Canada.
Thanks, Carla. Over to you, Shantanu.
Right. Hey guys, I'm Shantanu. I'm an INSEAD grad 2017 December batch, and the founder at MBA and Beyond. Have helped a lot of applicants get the Forté Scholarship, like really a lot, and always love to see how the applicants getting scholarships, get access to recruiters even before the recruitment starts, right? And how their life sort of becomes sorted, which generally, I mean, if I know like almost everyone thinks that whenever MBA happens, some magic is going to happen, and after that, everything is going to fall into place. But it doesn't really happen that way. But if you're a Forté Fellow Scholarship scholar, it does become a tad simpler, than a regular MBA candidate. So yeah, but guys, apart from work, I love to travel. I was just in a music festival. I'm still at that location. Hence to see this background. And yeah, would love to answer your questions, whatever you have. Cheers.
Thanks, Shantanu. Thanks, both of you. All right, we'll kickstart. So, to talk about how the agenda of the session would look like, the first 25 minutes, we are only going to focus on Forté Fellowship. So, any questions that are pertaining to any kind of scholarship, fellowship, or any questions around Forté, please feel free to either raise your hands or drop them in the chat window. And we already have received some questions, so I'm going to kickstart with that. And the next half of the session, we're going to be talking about how to tackle applications for round one for some of the top European schools like INSEAD, HEC, EASA, LBS. As I'm very aware that some of the applicants here are either applying to US and Europe as a mixed bag, and most of you are only applying to European business schools. So we'll keep the agenda specific to that for now. So the first question is, and maybe Carla, Shantanu, both of you can help answer this question. The first one is, who is eligible for Forté Fellowship and what makes them a strong candidate? Carla, do you want to
Definitely, I can start with that one for sure. So all women that apply to the programs at Rodman are eligible for the Forté Fellowship. Of course, what makes a candidate to be eligible for or be outstanding outside of the rest of applicants is, of course, to exhibit leadership, not only in their professional life, but also in any extracurricular activities or community involvement. Aside of that, we wanted to have people from diverse backgrounds and also and especially those who have that dedication to promoting the advancement of women in business.
All right, thanks. Shantanu, do you want to maybe elaborate on schools like INSEAD and other schools here?
For sure. For sure, right. So in in general, women applying to full MBA programs, right, at Forté partner schools, obviously. Uh, and a strong candidate is the one who has demonstrated like leadership, academic excellence, and impacting community or profession, and a commitment to advancing women in business. Right. So when we talk about leadership, we just don't want to talk about that you had a KPI to move in your work and you move that. Hence, you're a leader. I mean, almost every applicant applying to a B school is going to talk about it. So, so one thing that sets you apart, the way Carla mentioned, is have you had an impact in community, right? How about the commitment in advancing women business? For instance, we've actually had pretty strong women applicants in the past. One of them mentioned that I had worked on oil rigs. And I kind of realized that the women participation over there was really very low. And when I asked them why is it low, they mentioned that no, sorry. So and she also realized that the PPE kits, so when you're on oil rig, you wear kits, right? You gotta wear your shoes, your helmet, and the entire kit, right? And she realized that these kits are not made as per women, they're made as per men. And there are also no toilets, especially for women. I'm not going to name the company, but it's one of the best companies in the world. And then when she asked this question, why is it so? And she was told there aren't many women over here, right? So why should we do it? Do such a thing, right? And now the question arises about chicken and egg. What comes first? Are women not here because the environment is not conducive, or the environment is not conducive because women are not here, right? So she fought the battle, right? It was not a KPI. No one asked her to fight the battle, right? She fought the battle. And then eventually she got toilets made. And then eventually she also got the PPE kits designed as per women. And then after 2 years, they could see that the total participation of women shot up from 2.5% to 30%. Now this is the kind of thing. Now you don't have to join an NGO for it, right? It's actually more. I'm extremely sorry, guys, for the background noise. But all I'm trying to say is you don't have to join an NGO for it. It's a cause you stand for, right? And it's something really personal to you, and it's something that is really very personal to you. You could also do it in your professional life, right? This is one of the example. It's the setup is is the professional life, but it's a cause personally you should stood for. So yeah, such candidates, And now there's another example that I would really like to throw away here is that there was an applicant, and she actually got 100% scholarship at LBS, but it came into pieces. She also got Forté, and she got a bunch of others, right? Came into pieces, and one that really struck with Forté was she was like, I come from a community where I'm going to be the first one who's going to do an MBA from abroad, you know. What I really want to do is provide exposure to these girls, provide them enough opportunities that there are other scholarships at blah blah college for blah blah program, right? And she would also raise funds, not just through the CSR activity of her own company, but also from outside, and then she would help little girls get to colleges and whatnot. So yeah, these are two examples, right? The leadership obviously is in there, but it's not just leadership. It's also about what are you really doing in order to advancing women participation, right? And also what are you doing outside of your professional life? I hope sort of clarified that. Paridhi, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, just as a follow-up question, I did understand that, I mean, women need to be working for the cause of women advancement and women empowerment and women in business, or let's say something that's got to leading women forward. Um, is it necessary for Forté Fellowship to be doing that, or could a woman be working for any other cause as well? Let's say education or something else, or does it always have to do, just to clarify for the audience?
Yes, well, basically for the Rodman admission purposes, we will take into consideration everything in regards to your working experience, any kind of community volunteer involvement that you have had. It doesn't have to be strictly to, of course, women development. Yes.
Oh, got it. Thanks for clarifying that. And how does Forté Fellowship, just in general, trying to understand from fellowship point of view, support leadership and networking beyond the funding? Maybe first, let's talk about the funding. What's the maximum funding can we expect coming in from Forté for a candidate, or let's say an average? And then how does it support beyond funding? Carla, do you want to take that one up?
Yes, definitely. So this is a tricky question. All of our entrance awards basically will depend on the strength of the application itself. We do have a minimum like a scholarship for those who are awarded fellowship. So the minimum that you can expect when you are awarded the Forté Fellowship is 20,000 Canadian dollars. And from there, I mean, it can go up to a full ride. Every year we offer one full ride. So this means that as well, one of our Forté Fellow can be one of those full rides.
All right. So that's pertaining, that's for Rotman. From what we know, Shantanu, I think almost all the schools are willing to offer one or two full rides with Forté, and the minimum that we are understanding is 20K, even whether it's in USD, Canadian dollars, or euros. Shantanu, is there anything else you'd like to add for funding? How much
No,
woman can?
I think Carla was bang on target over there. In European schools, what we have seen is on an average 18K euros, you know, and indeed it can go to full ride. But what I have personally seen is that then it combines other scholarships as well together. So, but what school does is that these school kind of realizes that, yeah, you know, this person is great, right? And then let's actually do something more, right? This actually also comes to a point that if you've got multiple admits, you can also haggle. And that haggling actually happens beyond the essays that you've written, beyond whatever scholarship has been awarded to you. But it's a very interesting point to achieve, guys. And it again depends from school to school, how B school takes it ahead.
Yeah. And thanks for
I generally love to haggle at that particular point with the applicants. You know, that's like, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for raising that point, Shantanu. And just for some of our male candidates joining us here today, because we're going to be talking about European business schools as well. One of the strategies that MBA and Beyond also pursues, let's say now you've got 2.5 months or 2 months at hand to the deadline. Ideally, you should be doing not more than 4 to 5 applications, because I mean, it's not possible to pull off a good application in this window. The number of admits that you bag of equal caliber schools, it gives you an opportunity window to haggle with. Like, for example, if you get into LBS and INSEAD both, you have an opportunity to haggle with the school. So what Shantanu is suggesting, that he loves to support you guys when you are in the journey of haggling, because that's the beyond part of MBA and Beyond. We help candidates to, if you've bagged some scholarship at one school, it's easier for you to bag a scholarship at the other school as well. So that's just like a negotiation 101 for all of you guys. So whoever has started working on their applications, all the best with that. And we are big supporters of scholarships, because 95% of our women candidates bag scholarship. I wouldn't say the same for male candidates. We still have the number sitting in 30s, but women candidates always have an upper hand and the edge, and the number of scholarships available out there. Now, that's just my take on it, and personally, how we, as sitting, on the other side of the admissions consulting, think about it. I want to understand from Carla, and this can be a question which can be very tricky for you to answer, and this is not a question that we received. I'm just curious. Do you think a school has a preference to give more scholarships to female candidates somehow, or do you naturally see more funding going into women candidates than male candidates? Just trying to understand from your point of view from schools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, yeah, definitely it's a tricky question, since the main source of a scholarship for us is merit-based scholarship. So basically, it will depend on the quality of the application pool that we receive for the year. So I wouldn't say especially is to women or to men. Basically, it's to applicants who actually succeed in submitting a strong application. And I think I have mentioned this a lot, but what a strong application means, or what we will be looking at, is first of all, evaluating your intellectual horsepower. So we will be measuring your final year GPA, we will be measuring GMAT, DRE scores, any additional designation that you may have. Of course, moving on to the quality of your work experience, what have been your main responsibilities, have you managed projects, have you managed people, as well. It's important to know how other people perceive those professional abilities. And that's why we also request for 2 professional references. We wanted to know what other people think about yourself and how you act during your work. Then we will measure some things like communication skills, the spike factor. The spike factor is basically something that makes you unique as an applicant. So there is a certain number of criteria that we evaluate, not only for being men, for being women, or for coming from a specific region. So it's a variety of factors. So I wouldn't say that the case will depend on gender.
Thanks, Carla, for answering that question. Coming from the other side and seeing how applicants bag scholarships, we just find it that the percentage of women candidates of equal caliber bagging scholarships is just a little on the higher side. But that's, again, data can read whatever. Of course, you have better insight into the other side. I've got the insight on the other side. Okay, moving on to the next question. How can I shortlist schools that match my goals and background? I think slowly we are moving on from Forté Fellowship. Before we move on to that, are there any questions, guys and ladies, from you around Forté Fellowship that you specifically want to answer or get answered today? I can wait a minute or two meanwhile. And before we jump on to talking about European business schools and application strategies in general, Carla, I would really like to understand from you, looking at the job market and the situation of the world right now, and how things are swinging. How's the MBA application climate in Canada? I mean, do you see the volumes have increased compared to last year, or they've decreased? What's exactly going on at Rotman? I'm just curious to understand that.
Yeah, definitely. And we have seen that applications have been maintaining the volume in terms of the job market. Of course, we have seen that there has been some challenges, of course. We are probably saying that the class that graduated last year, more than 80% of the class were able to get full-time jobs after or within 6 months after graduation. So our career services is working very hard to, of course, getting the students to find a full-time position. But in terms of number of applications, we have been keeping a very steady number over the past few years.
All right. Thanks, Carla. That's good to know. I've got
Paridhi, also, before we move further ahead, right? Before that, I would also love to share how being a fellow, being a Forté scholar really helps you beyond just the MBA,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, before we move ahead, so yeah, over to you for now, Paridhi.
Yeah, so you can elaborate on that, Shantanu, because we've got a few questions, as some of the candidates have dropped them in here. So we'll tackle them in the next 10 minutes, but you can elaborate on that first, and then we take the questions.
Right. So, I mean, guys, if you get the scholarship, it just supports you way beyond than just funding you. Try to see this particular scholarship is an investment on you. and they really want something back from you later on, like how are you going to add value to it? But on the question of how does the entire Forté program adds value to you, right? Is that first of all, Forté has a partnership with over like 50 plus or 50 top MBA programs, right? And then they're like bunch of Forté leadership conferences. There's one which I'm aware of, which is the MBA Women's Leadership Conference that happens once annually in summer. It's on an average attended by, I guess, 700 plus MBA women. There are workshops, the keynote speeches, panels, led by the women from the firms like McKinsey, BCG, Google, Amazon, JP Morgan, there are also a bunch of like career expos and virtual fairs, right? You actually get to also get placed before the regular campus recruitment starts, which is a big advantage, right? What is everyone looking for after MBA as a job, right? And like one thing that I said in the beginning of this talk was that we feel that now I've gotten through MBA, done. Job is done. Now the peaceful will get me a job, right? And you stay in this honeymoon period for a really very long time that you're thinking in your head. Now it's done. I've cracked it. Everything is gonna fall into place itself. The answer is no, guys. No. You still gotta fend for yourself, right? The peaceful is gonna provide you an amazing platform, right? An amazing platform. But now, let's say if you get into the top-notch B schools, let's say the top 6, INSEAD, LBS, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, right? Now you're competing with these guys, right? So still got to fend for yourself. Now, this is exactly where if you're a Forté scholar and if you get an opportunity in like top firms like I just mentioned, like MBB, Google, Amazon, right? Interviewing you before even the recruitment season starts, that's like wonderful, right? The season has not even started, you got a job. So I think from this perspective, like I have known candidates, my friends actually, a few of my friends when I was doing MBA. Just a quick intro again. I'm a 2017 December graduate of INSEAD. Like few of my friends already had got a job even before the season started. Right now they're chilling, and whereas the other set of people, we are really worrying about what to do next, right? So the comfort zone that you get getting a job before the season starts is, I would say, like one of the best things that you can really feel during the MBA, even if Forté doesn't give you a scholarship, if they just say that you're a part of this club, right? Beyond this, Forté in general also send, so they create kind of a resume book, and they just send it across to a lot of companies, guys. Just to let you know, few of the companies, I can't name all of them over here. I'm going to just send a link over here. Just open it, and you would see a bunch of partners, and it's on Forté's website, right? So there are a lot of companies. And apart from this, eventually MBA you think it's just about that year or two. No, it's not about that. It's about the network you become a part of throughout your life. And Forté scholars also, they have a close-knit network. And being a part of that network would really help you throughout your life. It's not just about that year of MBA or, like a year after that. It's about you have something throughout your life, and it's wonderful to be a part of that community. And there are also a bunch of other small groups inside Forté scholars, which could be, let's say, women in tech, women in finance. There's one beautiful thing called women of color in business. There's a lot to gain if you become a part of that circle.
Thanks, Shantanu. That was really insightful. So yeah, I hope we could gather what more can we get beyond the funding. There's somebody asking what's the average GMAT GRE. So I'll quickly touch upon that. We've seen somebody, I mean, we've helped somebody with 630 on classic edition of GMAT also bag a Forté Fellowship equivalent of 35K euros. And we also have had somebody with 670 on classic edition, somebody as low as 316 on GRE, getting into booth and bagging a Forte Fellowship. So, yeah, I mean, there is no right or wrong answer to this. They won't talk about the averages anywhere. Your profile has to be fit with respect to the values that Forte is looking for. And the next question we've got, what is the average number of years of work experience? It's similar to if a school accepts you and if you're a fit for Forte values that it's looking for, you are good to go. So it's not something significantly different from the school that you guys are applying to. Lastly,
So
does Forte
just
have
to sorry, just one quick thing over here. So you will get scholarship only when you get the admit, right? So if you're getting the admit, then you're passing through that filter of the B school, right? It's not going to be like you got scholarship but you didn't get through B school, right? So all these answers, kind of the typical answers, are just it's the average of the B school. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably what I will add also, Preeti, is that you check the B School Plus profile of the program. So you will feel more comfortable seeing what's the average of the class, like looking what is the average GMAT score that admitted students have had in the past. What is the average years of work experience that admitted students have had in the past, just to serve you as a reference.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's the school. It's nothing to do with, Forte having the averages, for all of you to understand. Kostub has a very interesting question. And I was curious about this question the other day as well, Shantanu. So does Forte have a, major inclination towards female applicants? I mean, they don't say they have. They are unbiased completely. But again, the stats, again, the one that I was sharing, us being admissions consultant, we've seen preference given to female candidates. Also, I have another assumption over here, or a hypothesis, so to say. Not many male, right? Currently, we just have one male candidate who has a lot of women empowerment stories to be talking about, in their application. So let's see if he bags it. But we haven't had a lot of male candidates or MBA candidates coming in and talking heavily about how they've empowered women, with respect to the
I
ratio that
think Parade it's only for women. Carla, correct me if I'm wrong over here.
Yes,
they
here at the Rodman School, unfortunately, all the Forte Fellow Awards is for female, but there is plenty of other fellowships and awards that men can be eligible for.
eligible. Yeah. So at least on Forte website, they do say that it is for all genders as long as you fit the criteria. But again, I mean, there's no harm applying and trying, because I think most of the world is going under the impression that we can't apply for Forte Fellowship because it's for females, because that's the impression that's been created. But, like, you never know until you try. So go ahead, try, at least for the schools that don't exclusively say that it's only for female candidates. If the schools are open to it and schools are also saying what the website of Forte is saying, then go ahead. So yeah, Kaustubh, I wish I had a better answer to that with respect to the proportion. At least for us, we haven't seen any male candidate bagging a Forte Fellowship so far.
Uh, Sorry, Paradi, I would like to add something. Sorry to interrupt you. So, if not 40, then what is like a good scholarship for, any
Men,
replacement of 40? Yeah.
yes. Yeah, Shantanu, do you want to talk about, maybe like we can spend 2 minutes and talking about scholarships that male candidates can apply for as well?
Right. So, guys, I'm gonna start with the word unfortunately, especially for I would say Indian males. Um, it's about supply and demand. You know, supply is huge. So I mean, they are scholarship. I'm not going to deny it. They're actually scholarship like Dhirubhai Ambani scholarship, right? Where where you can bag the scholarship, but you have to come back to India, post that to work a little. You got scholarship. Let's say if you're doing it, if you're in Singapore, you can actually get scholarship from the Singaporean government, where they're gonna waive off 30% of your fees. But again, you got to stay in Singapore for 3 years. There are other bunch of merit-based scholarships. There's one pretty common, which is called Robin Hood Scholarship, right? Where everyone kind of, a lot of alums, they pitch in, and one of the applicant gets full ride. That is irrespective of your gender, by the way, completely. But specifically for males, there aren't many. They are for, let's say, people coming from minorities, people coming from Africa, let's say, right? But when it comes to Indian males, guys, there aren't many, but there's a way to like haggle it. If you got multiple admits, right? Then we haggle it, and then they put it under, like, school put it under like whatever bucket they want to. Which we generally don't care, but what we really care about is we need scholarships, right? So the best way for Indian male engineers to bag a scholarship, guys, is to have multiple admits and then go out there and tell them that, hey, this is what I got. Also, I hope I've answered your question. There's no clear
Yeah.
answer though.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's based, merit based, so to say, Dhirubhai Ambani, you can look at Chevening, you can look at, but yeah, nothing specific. Need based, merit based is the easiest that we've seen, and then multiple back admits that leads to negotiations.
In Paris, there was one UK based scholarship which we also did a session on.
Chevening,
Commonwealth Scholarship. Yeah, Chevening and Commonwealth Scholarship. Yeah. They also, they're actually not, like, it's not gender based. And in Forte, if I'm not mistaken, Carla, correct me if I'm wrong, they wouldn't give you, they would only waive off tuition fees at maximum. They wouldn't give you living expenses, money for living expenses. In Forte, whereas Commonwealth and Scheveningen, they would also give you living expenses plus your flight ticket. Like, you just got to do MBA. So yeah, there are also a bunch of other scholarships. And if you guys really feel, we can do another session just over this topic where it's not focused on Forte.
Yeah, and just a couple of more scholarships. So let's say, so there are external scholarships depending on the story that you guys are bringing to the table. So if you've got a heavy social impact oriented story, there are some schools that offer scholarship. You can look into Skoll Foundation. It's called SKOLL.
Right.
If you've created huge impact, with the government, social, and you've been huge in the social sector, impact investing, etc., you can really go ahead for that. So yeah, and there are a bunch of scholarships for entrepreneurs as well. Well,
Yeah,
depending.
now when I'm thinking more, I'm getting to know, like, like more scholarships are popping up in my head. I didn't come prepared for this question, but for example, Darden has patent scholarship,
Yeah.
right? Over there, you get in terms of if you've done any innovation, or even tech, or you've contributed to the society. Puku also has one of it. I forgot the name. But almost all the schools have it. Guys.
Yes, I just wanted to add probably that Kaushtu, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm so sorry, but just wanted to say that the best way is to prepare a strong application, to submit a strong application, and that your profile is competitive. Within the school, there is a number of scholarships that men are eligible for: Emerging Leaders Awards, entrepreneurship leaders, or those who are coming from a specific backgrounds like engineering, finance. So I will say the most important thing is to prepare a strong application.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and guys, one of our applicants very recently, that guy painted Europe, wherever applied, got through, which was surprising to me to see that INSEAD also gave scholarship to him. Like, generally INSEAD doesn't budge. But INSEAD, I think, threw 25,000 euros to him, and he's finally joining INSEAD. Now, what's the name of the scholarship? I don't think even he knows. But when we haggled, he got money out of the school.
All right. Thank you.
Also, probably just to finalize with this question, apply early in the cycle. Always there are better chances of a scholarship by applying early in the cycle. So that was my final advice.
I think that's the key that we've been pushing, or some of the strategies. I can see some of our candidates are sitting here with us. Yes, going early is what you do, and especially with 2 months at hand, whoever has been lazing around and not starting the work on your application right now, and if you're wanting to do 4 to 5 schools, you should already be working. Not just your school application, but also your scholarship application. So yeah, not to rush you through, but yeah, just being proactive always wins. All right, moving on. Which companies have previous Forte scholars? I think Shantanu shared the list. So that's something we've touched upon. Nikita wants to know, okay, this is a very sensitive question, but we can try and share our opinion in as neutral way as possible. Would placement support be affected because of deprioritization of DE&I initiatives by American MNCs? So, I mean, of course, there'll be no right or wrong answer to this, Nikta. Just a disclaimer over there. It's just going to be us sharing our thoughts on this. So, Shantanu, Carla, maybe you could start. Any one of you can chime in first.
Nikita, the honest answer is we don't know. What we can really do is predict. A lot of adcoms that we knew, and who were promoting D&I are not with the B schools anymore, which was really sad to know, especially in R2, last intake. I mean, the intake is currently going on. So as of now, Nikita, we don't know. But eventually, B school is also a marketplace where they have different profiles, and the companies would come in and say, I need 10 pieces of product manager, I need 10 pieces or 20 pieces of consultants, right? So as far as diversity is concerned, that's the bread and butter of B schools, right? It can't be taken away. But would it still have similar emphasis as it had? Nikita, that's something we still got to see.
Yeah, Carla,
And Carla, would really like to know your thought.
Well, I will say that probably this is just an ongoing situation. We don't know actually how this will be affected. But I will say just that probably for here, the University of Toronto, most of the opportunities of placements will be for companies that are already in Canada, even though if they're, I don't know, they're the main company is in the US, but they are still recruiting from our students. As well, if you are a strong candidate, if you have those qualifications, I'm pretty sure that if a company wants you, it won't matter any like political tensions. I mean, there is always a way. I think I was in a conference I think it was a couple of weeks ago with some American universities. They are still wanting international students to go to their universities. Of course, there is always employers who are looking for diverse background, for diverse students. So I will say this is an ongoing situation. We don't actually know how things are going to be in the future. But always, if you're a strong candidate, you have strong possibilities of getting the positions that you are looking for, either in America or somewhere else.
Thank you, Carla. That's interesting to know the point of views. Also, again, Nikita, I know we touched upon this while you and I were having a one-on-one, and I'd like to touch upon this again. There are 3 schools of thoughts right now for candidates approaching their application. One, that they absolutely do not want to, and that's majority, do not want to apply this year. They want to apply next year, especially when it comes to US business schools, because they've not done their research on European or Canadian or let's say any other business schools as yet. So they're not ready to explore other geographies. So they're pushing their plans to next year. The second school of thought over here is that they've completely moved away from applying to the US and they're exploring other geographies. That's when you get an opportunity to really maximize and not live, on the edge and figure out, okay, everything is going to be risky, especially as an international candidate. You're safeguarding yourself. The third kind of candidates are very small, though, which is saying that, if I have to apply to the US, this is not going to last forever. This is the best time for me to apply because let's say if we're coming from a competitive pool of candidates, either you're overrepresented or you have something as a red flag in your profile, like a lower GPA, a lower GMAT, or a gap year or something, then there's no better time than this to make an application to the US and the more competitive business school. And having said that, as Shantanu and I are seeing the volume of applications slightly declining for US business schools, at least for round one, that's what we can vouch for. I feel that may be good strategy for some of us to tackle, to take on if you really are in US. Otherwise, please explore other geographies. And I think that's what our next half of the session going to be about. Shantanu can elaborate and talk about European business schools, and then Carla, probably you can touch upon, what opportunities can Rotman open up for candidates if candidates are really considering applying to Canada. So, Shantanu, I think we can begin with you. What are the top schools that you think are getting the most traction in Europe, considering what has happened, looking at the political climate, and how should a candidate approach the application journey here on?
Right. Before I come to this, on the school of thoughts that we touched upon, there's an interesting thing I'm seeing because when you work with applicants, so when applicants before signing up with us have a different mindset than they sign up. We work with them for a really, very long time, interact a lot with them. I could see their mind changing also because they just kept on like whenever I speak to them, they kept on asking me, hey, like what's happening in the USP school market, and kept on telling them that it's not the volume is not that much, right? So very recently, I think this Monday, there's an applicant who pinged me, and she's like, "Hey, I know I signed up for 7 schools, and I know that we only discussed I told you that I don't want to apply in US, but somehow I am inclined towards these 3 schools, US, and there's another applicant I spoke to the day before yesterday. We were having the branding call, where we also shortlist schools and everything. And the applicant is like, I think I only signed up for 3, but would it be possible to upgrade to 5? And these 2 schools are going to be US, want to take a chance, right? So this thing is also happening, which I can see with the applicants who signed up with us earlier, saying I'm only going Europe, right? Now, coming to this question, how do we tackle this particular situation? What are the top European schools? Guys, one school that has really benefited a lot out of this is LBS. Like LBS kind of knew that people are not like who wanted to go to New York to get like the finance jobs, right? Looking at the market scenario this particular year, they might not go to New York, like you are close to it, right? You're not going to Columbia, you're not going to NYU Stern if you got through, right? Even for that sake, you're not going to Wharton, or even Yale, right? So one thing interesting that I observed in the previous intake is the applicant I was talking about who got scholarship from INSEAD didn't get any scholarship from LBS. Like LBS didn't budge at all, And I think one of the biggest reasons is that LBS only got one intake in a year, whereas INSEAD got two, right? So they got to fill in both the intakes. HEC Paris, I could also say, actually was a wonderful school, right? Throwing scholarship, ESA, IESE, Spain, where applicants have been bagging scholarship. And it's a wonderful school. I mean, if you want to become management consultant, which I feel 90% of you would want to be, um, then IESE has carved out a very good route to Middle East, especially for consulting, and once you're in, then, internally you can take whatever transfers you want to. Even for that sake, SD one of the biggest reasons SD last year in Financial Times was on the top 10 was just because of this. SD has been putting a lot of applicants to a lot of students towards consulting. So yeah, I mean, INSEAD, LBS, IESE, HEC Paris, you got Oxford, you got Cambridge, right? Yeah, these are a few bunch of schools, which people are preferring now more than applying to US. Then apart from these, if you talk about a little lower average GRE or GMAT, right? You got schools like Warwick, you got schools like IMD, you also got IE, which is also in Spain. And there's another wonderful B school, which is a very underrated B school in Europe. And I would say as good as NUS, is Copenhagen School of Business, in Europe. It's a wonderful B school to get in. And then outside of Europe, Rotterdam, in Canada, it's an amazing B school. We've got a lot of applicants get through Rotterdam with scholarships as well. Living a wonderful life. I haven't heard any complaint until now. And I stay in touch with applicants, keep on pinging them, how's life and all the stuff. So yeah, I mean, guys, it's not just about applying to US B school, but if you want to apply to US, then I would say leverage early actions. Darden has an early action, Fuqua has an early action, TUP has early action, right? If you really are still thinking about US, then I think you definitely need to take a look into early actions.
Yep. Thanks, Carla. So now, of course, with the situation in the US, candidates are also considering other geographies, and Canada also comes as some of the top choices, one of the top choices to apply to. Maybe if you could throw some light on how Rottman is seeing candidates in the past with respect to recruitment, since you deal with recruitment, and what are the opportunities thereafter, so that'll help our candidates get educated on that today.
Yes, definitely. And I would say, just referring to Canada itself, as Shantanu said, it's a very welcoming country. Well, personally, I am from Central America, so I come as an immigrant to Canada. The easiest process, of course, of coming here is by studying. Most of the program, if you study, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not an immigration advisor, just a disclaimer, but if you study 1 year, a program that is 1 year length, you are eligible to get up to a 3-year work permit, which is great. During that time, probably you sort all your staff and you are able to apply for permanent residence. As well, most Canadian companies are, of course, willing to take international students. I will say also, well, while looking at Canadian universities, keep in mind, looking for recognized institutions, look that the schools support what are your postgraduate interests. And especially here at Rodman, I will say one of the key advantages that we have is that we are located in Toronto, one of the most multicultural cities in the world. And you may be thinking why location matters. Well, it matters when you are really looking to target some specific industries. We are very well connected, of course, to the financial district here in Toronto. Of course, with the consulting companies, you will be, staying in a diverse city where people is willing to make connections. You will enrich your network opportunities. So it's important for you to keep all these considerations. For instance, we have, as I mentioned, we have seen like a steady number of applications. Now I know that you may have heard that Canadian immigration has issued a new regulation, like the provincial attestation letter. So basically there is a cap, and especially I think this is affecting the colleges. So that's why I mentioned that if you're interested in coming to Canada, look for top business school, those that are reputable institutions. Most of them will have no problem when you are applying for the study permit, which is great. Probably if I can elaborate a little bit more about the support that we provide you once you are here, even when you are applying to the program. Before coming to the city, you will be given support from immigration advisors in how to submit a proper or a complete study permit, so that reduces your chances of getting a refusal. Once you are here in the city, there is a lot of support that will be given in terms of if you're coming as an international student. Of course, there's different clubs that will help you to engage in the community as well, or career services will be working since day one. I will say even before you come to the school, you will be working with one career coach that will be helping you, guiding you how to target a specific industry, specific companies, and helping you from very little things like updating your resume, customizing your cover letter, preparing for mock interviews. Or program here at the Rodman School, the one that is the full-time MBA program, has an internship component, which is great for you to gain Canadian experience before applying to full-time positions after you graduate. So I will say you will be giving a lot of support from our career services from getting your internship and also after you finish your program and getting a full-time position.
All right. Thanks, Carla. So just long story short, and thanks for your advice, both of you, Shantanu and Carla, on how should candidates be approaching, because now it's not just about, us getting into some of the top business schools. We also have to open our minds and, eyes to what are the opportunities thereafter. Because like currently we all sit on the side of the world where, if the opportunities are not, you're not feeling safe with the opportunities, it becomes a very tricky situation to put in that kind of money into an MBA. So yes, everybody wants to take that careful step, and your advice is really valuable over here. Just to help all of you understand, equivalent of M7 in other geographies, for example, in Europe, are going to be INSEAD, LBS, HEC, IESE, like Shantanu said, and equivalent of that in Canada is going to be definitely Rotman. Rotman is the best school in Canada for what we understand when you look at the rankings. Along with, of course, Schulich and Ivy are two other schools that candidates consider when they apply to Canadian business school. So if you're opening your minds to other geographies with respect to the ease of immigration and the job visa situation in different geographies, then yes, please consider both the geographies over here. That's the objective of the discussion that we just had. Any quick tips, Shantanu? Because we've got 7 minutes, maybe we can cover some tips on application from your side, and then Carla, maybe from you. So Shantanu, any quick tips that you could give, in the next few minutes to candidates targeting round one for European schools right now?
Yeah. Before that, do you want to take Ayushi's question? Because I think
Yes.
we sort of missed that.
Yes, we can do that. What are the best schools for VC and product management in Europe?
Right. So, guys, it's about. These days, to be honest, all the B schools, they are targeting a lot on consulting, but tech in general is sort of picking up. That's where you have product management, but you would also see that there are a lot of layoffs recently, especially coming from tech, right? But now when it comes to B schools, VC/PE, I mean, if you're in London, right, I would say it's the best deal. We've had applicants from LBS. I mean, for that's like even INSEAD, right? Like INSEAD, LBS, whatever you guys want to do, it's pretty easy. You can go and take up any route. But yeah, Cambridge, we had an applicant last year. She first of all got through. She was from BCG, pre-MBA. She did an MBA from Judge, Cambridge. Got through McKinsey and BCG, and then she realized that no, I want to get into PE and VC. Then she cracked PE. She cracked a VC job. Right now, she's working in VC. So I think it's more about the location. It's also more about the alum base than just the B school. And I think schools like HEC Paris, apart from, so I'm not going to talk about INSEAD LBS, apart from INSEAD LBS, schools like ESA, HEC Paris, Cambridge, even Oxford, not that much. But yeah, I mean, these three these got pretty good alum base, sitting in the space for both EC and for product management to get through. For instance, Revenue, right? TransferWise, N26 for that sake in Berlin. So okay. So there's another geography for product management apart from London is Berlin. Berlin is the tech hub of Europe, and if you really want to get into product management, then Berlin is again an amazing choice. So the way you should look forward to, apart from just what business school is put in what, because only 50% of the placements at Maxim happen through business school, and the majority happens through networking. You got to create your own network. You really got to see what jobs are floating, and then you really got to find out who's the alum is working over there, and then it's eventually a funnel. So Berlin is a very strong geography apart from London, and so is Amsterdam. Like Booking.com hires in bulk. So yeah, these are a few. But if you're specifically looking into VC or PE, London, guys, is the safest bet. And if you're in London doing an MBA and you see your alum base sitting over there, then yeah, that's how you should choose a school. Right, Paridhi, and then now coming to the next question, Paridhi, you mentioned the tips for the application. You got to find your differentiating factor quickly, right? Because it's not just about answering the essays. Essays, we generally feel that I just want to answer this essay, then I want to answer the other essay, and then I got to answer the other essay, because European B schools ask a lot of questions. But just try to see your essays aren't supposed to sit in silo. They together need to tell a story. They together need to tell a narrative, right? And more than the content that you put in the essays, it's always the why behind those, right? The why behind the content that you're putting in creates the story, creates the narrative. So I think what you guys really need to bounce upon is figuring out the narrative, figuring out your differentiating factor to start off with the application. Please don't go and start writing the essays. That's like a waste of time.
Thanks, Shantanu. Carla, do you want to share your tips on how to?
Definitely. Well, I will say that it's never too early to start engaging with your B school. So most of the business school that I know, they provide service of one-on-one consultation previous to submitting your application. So feel free to send them an email, to connect with them online. Here at the Rodman School, we will be more than willing to go over your resume, your transcripts, and provide you personalized guidance on how to maximize your chances of admission into our program. Also, something very important as well is, if the school is asking you for references, look for referees that add value to your application. People who really know you and really is willing to provide that feedback, that good feedback, of course. And I will say, apply early in the cycle.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carla. We've got 1 quick minute. So, yes, differentiating factor. And the second most important thing, I think, which Carla has highlighted and we keep talking about, please make yourself visible to business schools. So, do a one on one, show your passion. I mean, on the other side, you should really feel passionate and close to the ideology of school and the value of school. So, please speak and connect with the schools. I know there are a bunch of questions that you guys still want to answer, and we won't be able to tackle them in less than a minute. So Francine and Kostub, I would love to connect with you one on one after the session, maybe tomorrow or day after. We can find a common time so you can reply to the email and we can take it from there. Thank you for such a lovely session, Carla and Shantanu, and thank you for being such amazing guests and audience, everyone. I hope you found the value that you guys were looking for. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening, great day, wherever you are, and hope to see you soon again in the next session in another 2 weeks. Bye.
Cheers, cheers,
Ciao. Ciao.
everyone, and thanks a
Thank
lot,
you
Carla,
all.
for coming over here. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Bye.